Hey, friends, welcome. Tuesday, the 30th of June, 2026. I'm broadcasting from Los Feliz, Hollywood, in my dear friend Sue Wong's home, or one of her beautiful homes here in Hollywood. I am happy to be here, but I have to say it's cold. Today it's cold and gloomy. I was wearing my little vest earlier and decided, no, I can't handle a couple of hours of live broadcasting. I'd be shivering by the end of it. So I'm wearing a shirt. What to say? A hell of a lot to report on to our NewEarth community around the world. And today's going to be a little bit disjointed. We've got a kind of skeleton crew from our team in the green room because we have limited space there, and we also have more live broadcasts with live attendees. So we've got limited crew, our own NewEarth crew today. You'll have to bear with us. I'm going to try to synthesize where we've been at the last few weeks. The critical focus for us has been obviously tenacity, and I've got Ethan in the green room coming in a moment to speak to that. Just the most beautiful experience, I have to say. I also want to speak about the new NewEarth platform, the financial and economics platform, which we've been developing forward. We suspended all of our campaigns in the last few weeks in order to rewire the basement and do a massive upshift. In simple terms, we were invited into taking an enormous evolutionary step. Just after we're doing our soft launch in April into May, about to push the campaigns out. And the only way I'm going to put it is that certain elements are taking us a lot more seriously than we had imagined, okay? At the macro level, we're being taken very seriously in terms of the platform that we're actually developing for the world. And so there has been a kind of interception or an intercept that has happened. It's all good, it's all positive, but we've had to break a few bones, reset in order to take a much bigger evolutionary step forward. And I'm going to be speaking to that as well momentarily. What I want to do before, just by way of a preamble today, is to give a preemptive 4th of July a message to essentially to Middle America, which is to say to the world. I've always maintained that Middle America is Middle Earth, is the heart and the pulse of humanity in that sense. And on the 4th of July, in a couple of days' time, I will be somewhere on the road between Las Vegas and Hollywood. I'm heading up, I think, tomorrow or the morning after to Vegas to do some filming. And then I'll be driving back down here on the 4th of July. Many people think the world is going to end on that day. Others think it's going to be a huge kind of quantum reset. Something extraordinary is going to take place. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So here's the thing. As Ali and many people who attended the Mayan retreat that I did 2 months ago, almost today, I used AI, Kai, my avatar, to look at the 4th of July, 2026. I mean, Marsha was with me on the day, and I remember we were discussing this. And we put to work the AI engine, looking at the kind of astrology, the meta-astrological configurations of 4th July, 2026. And what essentially came up was a message that date line in particular, 4th July 2026, demarcates a line in the sand where the psycho-civilizational software is deleted and reinstalled on that day, on that actual day. That was no prompting on my part into the AI engine. That's just the big astrology. I invite any astrologists out there. I invite anyone who works with AI. Please investigate it for yourself. Take a look at what is happening at the meta level, 4th July 2026. It really does look as though the Mysterium cult Babylonian priesthood that knew something about this date line this year. So in a sense, to offset that and humanize the notion that 4th of July 26 might be demarcating a very seismic, even possibly apocalyptic trigger for the world. And God knows we've seen the ring of fire erupting and volcanoes and earthquakes and tidal waves and the threat of thermonuclear Armageddon and the collapse of gold and silver and crypto and fiat all at the same time. Well, fuck me, if that does not indicate an apocalypse, meaning to say a falling away of the mask of ages and an invitation into immanence, into revelation, and into becoming the living witness, I don't know what else could demarcate that so palpably, so plainly, so starkly. But my message is essentially this: the 4th of July has always been one of those remarkable days that means different things to different people. And for some, it's fireworks, it's family gatherings, it's barbecues, and parades. And for others, it's the founding of a republic and the celebration of liberty, right? So for veterans, it carries sacrifice and remembrance. And for millions, I don't want to say just Christians, for millions of humans, but emphasis Christians across America, it speaks to the enduring hope that a nation can find its way back under God. And all of those meanings matter. But I would suggest that perhaps on this 4th of July, in 2026, we're being invited to look a whole lot deeper. Perhaps Independence Day is no longer simply about remembering an event in history. Perhaps it's about remembering something within ourselves, because the deepest declaration of independence was never political, right? It was spiritual. It was the moment a human being recognized that conscience answers to God before it answers to any institution of man. And that is the foundation upon which every genuine civilization must ultimately rest. So over the past several years, we've watched the masks fall. Institutions that millions once trusted have revealed themselves to be something very different from what we imagined. Governments have overreached, corporations have merged with state power, information has been manipulated, fear has become commoditized, and the machinery of perception has been exposed like never before. And yet I don't believe that we're living through the collapse of civilization as many would. I believe that we're living through the unveiling of real civilization. So there's a profound difference. So truth has a peculiar quality. It doesn't care whether we're comfortable. It doesn't negotiate with our opinions. It simply waits patiently until we're mature enough to look at it. Isn't that the signature of life, the mark of life, right, friends? And the rites of passage that all of us have to go through. Broken hearts and the death of the beloved and the death of loved ones and the resurrection from the deep, from the sleep that we, each of us in our own way, have to sit alone with in the dark. Humanity was never wired for comfortable illusion. Humanity was wired for truth, pure truth, which is why so many of us have found ourselves asking questions that only a few years ago would have been dismissed as impossible. Questions about hidden power, about secrecy, about corruption, about technologies that have been concealed, about the manipulation of history, about the nature of consciousness itself, even questions that reach beyond this world and force us to reconsider humanity's place in a far greater creation. Whether every answer is known today is almost beside the point. The important thing is that the age of unquestioning obedience is ending and the age of fearless inquiry has begun. Yes, that is the point. And that to me is something worth celebrating on 4th of July, 2026. I find enormous encouragement in some of these scriptural references. You shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. That is the most kind of populist reference point lately since the era of covidiacy began. But notice that Christ didn't say comfort would make you free. Didn't say convenience would make you free. He said truth first, freedom follows. So perhaps we've spent far too long asking governments to solve problems and looking to third-party intervention. We are the ones, the sovereign men and women, the living men and the women of the living soil are the ones that need to now look to ourselves. Perhaps we've expected institutions to deliver what only character can produce, and perhaps we've mistaken compliance for peace, right? Turn the other cheek and all of that. So the older I become, the more sexy, that's a joke, the more convinced I am that the future will never be built from the top down. It will always be built from the ground up by families, by communities, by churches, by veterans, by farmers, by inventors, by artists, by entrepreneurs, by ordinary people who simply decide to live honestly, courageously, and responsibly before God and before one another. And that's where the new earth begins, not in a government office, not in another election, not in another ideology. It begins the moment we stop waiting for permission to become fully human. It begins when technology once again serves life instead of controlling it, and when economics reflects stewardship instead of extraction, when beauty once again becomes a public value instead of an afterthought, and when fellowship becomes stronger than fear. So when jurisdiction returns to the individual, the family, the community, and the sacred covenant between humanity and the Creator, that, my friends, is real decentralization. So stop looking to the fucking blockchain, excuse my language. Stop looking out there. Bring it home. Bring it back to this relationship with you and the Creator, not simply moving power from one bureaucracy to another, but restoring power to where it always belonged, close to the people, close to the land, and close to the heart. So for me, the new earth has never been a fantasy about escaping the world. It's always been about redeeming it, about building it, about standing with bare feet in the mud and being humble enough to be broke, to be poor, to be desperate, to be afraid, to be anxious, and yet still anchored in that mission of what is right and what is truth, right? Manifesting it, living it, not waiting for somebody else to fix it or to fix anything for us. And yes, I'll say something that some people find provocative, but I think it's very healthy. Governments have become not just too large in our lives and far too intrusive. They become moot, absolutely moot. They are convinced, as technocrats and bureaucrats are convinced, that they are the authors of our freedom. They are not. Government had its place, and to some limited extent can still keep the light bulbs on and sweep the streets. But government was never meant to replace conscience. It was never meant to replace family. It was never meant to replace faith. And it sure as hell was never meant to replace the sovereign relationship between a human being and God. And that's why, with a smile on my face, I endlessly remind you with my little favorite saying, hashtag fuck the government, not because I celebrate chaos and not because we, the New Earth community, reject civilization, but because we reject the notion that our highest authority resides in bureaucracy rather than in truth. And my allegiance is not to centralized power, and nor is yours. It is to natural law, to conscience, to freedom, to Christ, in that sense, to humanity remembering itself. So perhaps this 4th of July becomes something more than an anniversary, friends, and perhaps it can become a personal declaration, a declaration that I will no longer outsource my discernment. I will no longer surrender conscience. I will no longer live in fear. I will no longer accept narratives in place of reality. I will seek truth wherever it leads. I will build beauty wherever I stand. I will strengthen family, my community, and my fellowship. I will become the freedom I have been waiting for, because the next America will not simply be voted into existence. The next civilization will not simply be legislated into existence. It will be embodied into existence. One sovereign soul at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time, one courageous act of truth at a time. So wherever you are on the 4th of July, my friends, celebrate with gratitude, celebrate those who have sacrificed, celebrate those who've stood for liberty, celebrate the enduring promise that freedom and faith still belong together. But above all, celebrate the fact that no matter how much deception has accumulated over the generations, truth remains undefeated. Light overcomes darkness. God, in that sense, remains on the throne, and the future still belongs to those who have the courage to walk in truth. God bless you all, and have a magnificent 4th of July. So that ends my message to Middle Earth and Middle America. And what I'd like to do now is bring on my beloved Marsha Ann Willardson, my comrade in arms. Marsha.
Oh my goodness. How many thoughts did you trigger in that preamble? I can't begin to tell you. It reminded of a time when I was looking at the Lucifer rebellion, and something occurred to me that I hadn't even considered before. What if the Lucifer rebellion, a whole idea of independence, was that separation from God, that divinity? What if celebrating our independence is really celebrating the separation from our source? And that the possibility that the line in the sand really is that idea that independence is only by joining with, by incorporating, by becoming that living source in action. And on the way down here, I was thinking about, what it felt like having been on this ride for the last month or month and a half.
Yeah.
And I would have to only say that it felt like flipping between the density and the divine. That it really is like this, a line in the sand where it's been pulled to the density. This has got to happen, but it's all divine, and just being on that flipping point, that place where it's all really coming together, and that with the intensity of everything and nothing at the same time. I mean, it's just that for me, that was the experience I had on the way down here. So it's just amazing, the preamble, so much to think about in what you've said. We have these notions that we have an omnipotent God, we have an omniscient God, we have a powerful God, and then we live our lives as if we're limited.
Right.
And when we're the expression of that living God. So I see very much a 4th of July as where we are on that tipping. What if everything we know about independence is wrong? What if it's the blending, if it's the marrying of myself with my divinity for expression that really is independence?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Marsha. And indeed, I'll tell you later on in the show, in the Lazarus Symposium today, I've done a section with Formosa, incredible, one of the greatest archaeocosmological historians and researchers. And I did the recording yesterday with him because he's in Taiwan. But it's going to be broadcast in the members section today in the symposium. And he has completely, like a number of these progressive researchers are discovering the forensics now using AI, able to see the absolute deceptions of history. When you now look at 1776 and you look at 4th of July, you look at all of these totems and sigils and date lines and calendric systems and what America is and what California is, what Los Angeles means, what the etymological roots of all that we believe to be freedom and liberty and fraternity. And, Napoleon Bonaparte didn't fucking exist. And, the Nazis simply transposed to the United States of America and took over through Washington, D.C. And they were successful. It was Second World War was a huge success to the Tula Society and so on. So we have got to get ready for a seismic psycho-civilizational rupture point. It is coming. It is hurtling towards us. Now, those of us who are part of this community, this New Earth community, the Lazarus community, we are ahead of the curve, so to speak. But even we had better put our seatbelts on and ready ourselves for what is coming, because it does mean paradigmatic shift. Everything that we think we know about genetics, about history, about physics, about astronomy, everything is going to flip and invert. Now, not for the worse, in my view, for the better, but that's not the point. The point is that as it collapses, the old status quo collapses, people who are anchored in fear will move into that tailspin. So frequency X and above is heart frequency and above. Frequency X and below is fear and entropy, dis-ease and death. Mortality is pegged to that. X marks the spot. But in any event, let's bring Ethan in. Brother, you did a fantastic job with Tanasi and the proceedings, you and Alex and the crew, Rebecca and the team. Thank you for what you did. It was moving. You popped my proverbial cherry by causing me to actually shed tears on a social media broadcast for the first time in my adult life, when I was ducking off into the hills behind the barn at a couple of times to do live transmissions to my following, and I was just deeply, deeply moved by what was actually transpiring on the ground. What I saw was the emergence of the Rainbow Warrior Tribe in real time. Thank you, Ethan. Lucas, great job.
Yeah, and I'm not going to take credit for it because I'm just a conduit. So I accept your praise with humility, but I have to give pass the praise on to where it really counts, and that's the Almighty from Source. And so I wanted to say something though that you were mentioning in your preamble there that I think is very important. A lot of people may not take the time to look into the exact metaphysical science of what you were saying, but I'm very well aware of this and what was actually happening. You know, we did this event with the fire ceremony led by the native chiefs, and you know, not to take away anything from the 8th fire ceremony last year, because that was monumental. That stands at the pinnacle of all of this itself. But you know, the progression of this fractally through the spirit as we move forward through what we call time or fake time, depending on how you look at it. We've talked about that a lot. It's actually an interesting thing that it happened on the 21st, because 21 is 7 times 3, which is a 7 is the Sabbath, which is rest, and 3 is resurrection. And not only that, but the event was 14 days before July 4th. And of course, 14 is 2 times 7. That's the, you know, the dualistic aspect is man and God, or it's sacred masculine, divine feminine. And something that you guys might want to really look into is the fact that this 250 years is demarcating the Pluto return completed and the Saturn cycle sealed. You know, the United States actually officially crossed its exact Pluto return between 2022 and 2024. And now it's entering that 250th year. And that's not just a political thing. It's very metaphysical. And Sacha, you talked about a download that's actually taking place. And what came to mind was the fact that a Pluto return is the death and rebirth of a nation's underworld architecture. Pluto rules the hidden power. It rules the wealth systems. It rules shadow control, death and rebirth, occult structures, the invisible machinery beneath visible reality. And a lot of people don't know this, but the U.S. was actually born with Pluto at the 27th degree of Capricorn, which is Saturn. And 27 in biblical numerology is the number of the power scepter. And Capricorn, of course, Saturn rules institutions, governments, hierarchies, law, empire, control grids. And so what I'm taking from that, the meaning is that America's soul contract was always tied to the building of the global matrix structure, not just a nation, the entire system. And that is now collapsing and it's being forced into rebirth. So I think it was monumental what we did here on the 21st, on the summer solstice, yet again. And that may be, I think, what people were feeling, that overwhelming emotional sense of freedom and joy and peace and just inexplicable things that we can't even really bring to words. I think that's the problem. And I know emotionally humans, when we have trouble speaking and uttering things in words, it wells up in tears because we just don't know how to express it.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you for that, brother. Very good. Marcia, did you want to lend any last few comments to Tanasi and the event that we had?
No, let's move on. Let's see what everybody else got. I just say, for the pulse report, if you felt my pulse right now, it is extremely elevated. So thank you for joining us.
Ali, how did you feel about Tennessee? Ali, how did you feel about it?
Incredible. It was so incredible. I just love getting to know our community and getting to know everybody more deeply, because there were a lot of people that came back. Yeah, it was so magical and beautiful.
Wasn't it? Wasn't it nice?
I love being able to enjoy it more.
Exactly. That to me was the big thing, because normally Ali and I are touring, you know, for 2 or 3 months across America, and you know, she's producing event after event after event after event, and just for one time to be invited to actually turn up to a NewEarth thing and sit back, and it was such a delight for me. Thank you.
It was such a dream, and my prince had the time of his life.
Prince of the Universe. Prince of the Universe is her poodle, who's kind of past his sell-by date, but he is still remarkable. There you go. Very good.
Well, Sacha, I'm trying to help you retire here. So all you have to do is just show up like a rock star with a microphone. You don't have to do all the back work and the crazy stuff.
Right. Well, screw you. I'm not old enough to retire, but thank you all the same for that, Ethan Lucas. And I just want to welcome Kellyanne, who's on the team and been working feverishly with us as well on all fronts. Nice to see you, Kelly. You're late for the broadcast. You weren't in the green room. You get 3 NewEarth lashes for that, but you're very welcome.
I blame my pups, my guardian angels, and they wanted to walk for a couple extra minutes and they wouldn't stop sniffing. So I'm so grateful to be here. I just wanted to say thank you to Sacha. Again, just being such an eloquent voice for humanity, and this fearless inquiry of truth as we approach, me being an American, raising my family here and seeing the insidious degradation of our truth and what that did to families. And now that coming full circle as we approach the 4th of July. And I want to urge every American and those watching around the world where they're tuning in, as we have been required to pledge allegiance to the flag. That was not our truth. We are here to pledge allegiance to each other, under and with God. And this era of fearless inquiry into truth, this disclosure, era of disclosure, this is not disclosure coming from what has been hidden. This is coming from humanity, from each and every one of us in that fearless inquiry. Never stop questioning. And we are here to come in harmony to question that. But the more important question is, we know and we are getting to the truth, but what are we becoming in the process?
Very good. Very good.
So thank you.
Thank you for that, Kellyanne. I want to, before we wind this piece down, do we have any photographs or anything of Tennessee that was sent through for the transmission through this Pulse report?
We do, actually. I have it. Can I share my screen? Otherwise, I can drop it in the WhatsApp to Christina.
No, share your screen by all means.
Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, let's see. How do I do that on here? I'm not sure how to do that on here.
You press.
I can actually, I have it ready to go if you want me to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. Thank you.
Yeah. I think Alex may have sent it to you.
I'll just need you to bring it in, Sacha, when I.
Okay, darling, I've got it. I'll see.
Hold on a second. Let me. Do you see that?
I'm not seeing anything pop up in the green room. No.
Let me do it first then. Oh, there we go.
You've done it. Okay, let me bring it in. Let me see. There we go. Add to stage. Okay, let's speak. There we go. Ethan, running commentary.
Yeah, so this was most of the group. I was supposed to be in this, but I was off running around like a madman. Alex was not in it either. We were doing things in the background, but I believe everybody else was in this. Devlin who was a horse trainer, a dear beloved friend of the community here. She, or I'm sorry, not Devlin. It was Barry who was up on the ladder there taking this picture. She was way up in the air. It was really kind of questionable. I was kind of worried about her, but she was up on my ladder that stretches, I think, 20 feet in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that was death defying, but I'll tell you something. That woman is an incredible photographer, and I've officially anointed her as the official NewEarth photographer now, and I'm quite serious about it. She's magnificent. Let's move through these images, please.
Yeah, just let me know when you want to switch, Ethan.
This is my favorite photograph of the whole entire thing, just so you know, Sacha. You and Scott Stone and Lewis Herms at our event space with the plaque. That was Alex's idea, by the way. She is the genius mind behind this. She's like, I'm going to make one of those kitschy little signs that, all the grandmas hang up in their country little homes here in the urban areas with, faith, love, and hope. This one's hashtag fuck the government, and I love it. So fabulous. Yeah. And this is Bob and his wife, who Bob is absolutely an amazing architectural mind, and he has been gracious enough to join forces with us and help us design the building out of NewEarth Team. And a lot of people are giving him compliments and raving about these little Hobbit homes. And there's a lot of different styles we can go with, but those are actually my favorite, the Hobbit homes.
Okay, let's go.
And then this is Sacha and me being a little bit gay, but it was all in good fun, of course. You had to be there.
Beautifully defined arm muscles.
Yes.
It's giving Michelangelo.
And there's Marcia and her epic aura on stage. I don't remember exactly what you were speaking about at the moment, Marcia, but everything you said on stage was absolutely important, impeccable, and amazing. So whatever moment that was the moment. And of course, this is Lisa Schermerhorn, and she was invited because she is a really, really amazing, brilliant quantum healer. And I wanted to expose people to her work and her perspective on things because it's very much aligned with what we're doing here in NewEarth Team.
Okay, beautiful.
And there is our beautiful, lovely hub, which we're still building out. Of course, we kind of remodeled it into a stage and auditorium for the event, and it's going to continue to be remodeled and made into a main hub. And we'll probably maybe for a little while use it as a stage and an auditorium, but it will probably be enclosed at some point this year.
Very good.
Louis Herms, California gubernatorial candidate, who actually ran mostly just to expose the corruption and to also force the other candidates into bringing things to the forefront that need to be brought to the forefront. This is, it's Julian, right? That was his name? Was it Julian?
Yeah.
He shows up. This was completely a divine alignment right here. I have no other way of explaining. This man's been walking from Texas with this cross, and he just happens to roll through Rogersville, Tennessee, of all places. Native American. Could have rolled through any town in Tennessee, happened to roll through Rogersville right during our event, shows up, and that was definitely a godsend there. You had to be there. It's hard to explain it post-event, but it's just the energy that this man is carrying and what he's doing is absolutely phenomenal, and the story is phenomenal.
Yes.
Does anybody have any, Sacha, do you have any of his social media? I actually didn't get that.
I don't, but I think Ali fancies him because I saw her looking at him.
Okay, well, maybe you guys can get it from Ali.
Yeah.
More
I'm not on
photographs.
TikTok. I don't have it, but
You don't have. Well, I've got his
have it.
number. I'll get it. I'll get his social media, and I'll let you guys know. I'll post it somewhere.
He walked for 92 days from Dallas to Rogers.
Wild.
See.
Absolutely
Amazing.
wild.
I know.
So yeah, more photographs of the crowd here during the speeches and the event. What else do we have? Oh, this was the ribbon cutting ceremony where I put Sacha on the spot. I did not tell him he was going to be the one doing the honors for the ribbon cutting, but obviously he was the only obvious choice for that. Marcia assisted as well, and this was the ribbon cutting for the stewardship plot selections, which are going to be for the next 3 to 6 months. We're going to be actively planning and starting to develop and build those out on the land, because that is going to be the core group and community here that's actually going to bring all of this to life.
And behind that was the my favorite golf cart, 12-cylinder,
Yes.
42.
It actually has a Ferrari engine in it. I didn't tell you about that. There was a switch you could have flipped,
Incredible.
and you could have gone 100 miles an hour on the land. So this is the hereditary panel. Many faces.
Let me walk through this if I may.
Go for it. Yeah.
General William Scott Baker at the end there in his disguise, wearing a hat, doesn't work. Brilliant human being, a man really centrally involved with the Office of Military Settlements and where the redemption takes us, hereditary redemption, the collaterals, the off-ledger stuff, the real premise and basis of the global economy. He is one of the so-called white hats, no pun intended, but amazing guy. And he came in to spend a couple of days with Marcia, who he's worked very closely with for a long time, and with me. And I can't say any more about those meetings, which were off the radar. But I'll tell you, extraordinary things happening. Marshall and I at some point may do a broadcast just to speak to redemption, jubilee, what appears to be happening, forgive me, as the different continental divides and all the different dragon families and white hats start to begin to converse. I'm involved on a daily basis in that, and so is Marcia. But sitting beside General Baker there is Chief Mel, a Standing Eagle, who came in as a ceremonialist for the event. Of course, he's Daniel Brinkley's best friend, and such a welcome member of our family. Marsha sitting next to him, then myself, and Chief Sabrina Whitehorse Barnett next to me, who also came in as ceremonialist. And of course, Chief Sabrina heading up the equine Cherokee medicine, equine therapy element of the NewEarth Tenacity project, which is a critical, it's actually the heart of the project, is the white horse magic and the equine therapy piece that we're bringing there. So, and then Ethan sat next to her. But that panel was a really important one. That was the closing panel of the 2 days officiations and proceedings. It was really about resolution and remedy, and just closing the heart loop on what we'd been doing as a planetary movement. And think about it. We've got the electromagnetic Shiva Shakti, masculine, feminine ceremonial piece with the hereditary blood song, the ancestral blood song coming in from Chief Sabrina and Chief Mel. We've got the military and the feminized patriarch coming in through General William Scott Baker. We have with Marsha, the perennial matriarch, the mother, the grandmother energy that unifies everything. We have Ethan, sort of a frontline warrior and Bible scholar, and anchoring those energetics into Middle America. And then me, you just have one sexy, charismatic motherfucker holding a microphone in the middle. But it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful event, and this was the closing piece to it. But I have to say another thing, just move on with the photographs, if you will. We also unveiled some NewEarth technologies with our, I don't know if I'm allowed to name him here, but our chief engineer, who is a savant genius, crazy guy, and his crazy, crazy crew, who are our family. And we unveiled, it was 3 of the technologies, the so-called free energy tester technologies were unveiled to the audience. And so everyone went away with that knowing. And that's a piece that we'd been promising a long time, technology, jurisdiction, fellowship. That was essentially what we proved out here. Is this the last photograph? Thank you.
No, this one. There you go.
Keep moving, please. Please keep moving. Thank you. There's the fire. That was also extension of the 8th fire ashes from last year. So this is a cumulative ritual ceremony. Those 8th fire ashes have been all around the world. There we go. That's dancing in with the bluegrass band. Keep going. Thank you. All right, very good. I think that's sufficient. Thank you. You can stop sharing. That's beautiful. All right, Ali, thank you, my darling. Is there anything you wanted to say regarding retreats, what have you? We know we've got some coming up, but we're not really allowed to announce them because we have to promote today only the big Egypt cruise and a tour coming up later this year. And you only want to make official announcements about our 2 retreats coming up. Those are Sacha Stone focused retreats coming up in a couple of months' time, but you don't want to speak too much about those today, correct?
They're in like a few months' time, but I don't want to speak about them right now, but I am curating, we are curating some incredible experiences with retreats, but also with Academy, so stay tuned on both
Very
fronts.
good. Okay, well, thanks, Ali. I'm going to pop you in the back room. Ethan, brother, thanks so much, and love to Alex. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Kellyanne, darling, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate you being here. And Marsha, last word to you before we move on to the new Earth.
Just get ready to think the unthinkable and be the unbelievable.
Think the unthinkable. I like that. I'll go with that. Very good. Okay, friends, let me bring on next Kennedy and Johan. Where's my maestro? Where's my maestro? There he is. Excellent. Got him. Just lose that QR code, will you please? Thanks, Christy. Very good. We can put a bottom strip banner if we can of the NewEarth X and New X Earth. Can we do that? Do we not have a banner platform there? Christy, talk. Christy, can you speak to me, please?
It's you don't see the ticker? Maybe you don't see it.
Oh, it's just a ticker. Okay, yeah. So there's no banner. Fine. Okay, very good. So here goes. And please bear with me. I'm going to try to synthesize this down. As you, NewEarth community around the world know, in April, we did the soft launch, began pushing out the NewEarth X platform. We began pushing it. We started getting ready for the campaigns with our core affiliates. And then we made a determination because we started to get tremendous feedback on all fronts. At the same time, we were also being approached by very powerful entities connected to the reset, to the Jubilee, to what's upcoming for humanity. I've got to be very careful what I'm saying here. The bottom line is we got caught in a crosswind where we had no choice but to stop, look at what we were doing, and start to rebuild in a much bigger way the platform that we had already started to roll out. The security implications became huge. I did mention in some measured tone, I mentioned that we'd received black notices, cabal interests, and Johan will be the first to nod feverishly here. We received black notices with death threats telling us to pull out the source codes, to pull the plugs out. If we didn't do so within 48 hours, our families were at risk, our lives were at risk. Okay, nasty, nasty stuff. Not a problem for me. I've dodged a lot of silver bullets. In fact, most of my team have. But I'll tell you this much. We looked at all of these notices. We ran a lot of AI as well to see where they're coming from. Where is the orchestration? Is it the black nobility basement, the Khazarian mob in Basel, Switzerland? Is it coming from that basement? Is it coming from the IMF or the world? You know, where is this coming from? We represent, with what we're planning, envisioning, and now building, we represent an existential threat to the status quo. Fact. So no small surprise there. We did have some members of the team getting very nervous and neurotic, and then we got together, Joe, Swanee, myself, Marsha, others. Kennedy, I think Kennedy was involved with that meeting, and the meeting was like, oh well, how do we address these black notices? My answer was respond with go fuck yourself, literally. Send that back. That was kind of the attitude that we took. We're not going to relent. We're not going to give in to fear. We're not going to take any part of this seriously, these threats. We're going to proceed apace. No. Better still, we're going to 10x our efforts. And that's exactly what we've been doing with Kennedy, Julian, other members of the extended team who are best in class, highest pedigree in international banking, commodities, trade, exchange, the whole caboodle. So we then had a bit of a crisis. I'm talking about Joe and his crew and also my crew. We have a crisis. How do we mix oil and water together? How do we create a platform that's going to be that much bigger and more 1 foot in the status quo, the fiat world, the old world, and 1 foot in the very advanced, progressive crypto blockchain world? How do we create a unified platform that can actually bridge those two universes? That, friends, is what we were forced into a reckoning with internally. And it's caused a lot of pushing and shoving and trying to explore how do we merge oil and water. I'm going to leave it at that, just to say we've reached a beautiful harmonium point, and we are proceeding. So we're proceeding with building out the big infrastructure. It's going to be 10 times bigger than we ever anticipated. The Ghost Wallet campaign goes back online this week. And we've also improved that dramatically. Not that we needed to, because I believe we're still the best in class in the world in terms of security. But we have also advanced. There were problems with shipping. Many of you saw that. We were having packages intercepted. Joe, Swanee, sorry, brother, I'm talking too much. We had packages intercepted and even open up and hacked into. Speak a little bit about that.
Yes, Sacha, thank you for bringing us up here. It was. We got a lot of interceptions and interventions in our shipping, trying to bring this out to our members out there. And but we've overcome it. We just improved on our side every step of the way, as you just said. Wherever we got pushback, we just went 10 times faster and 10 times harder. And I think what we're about to reveal tonight is also a good evidence of how far we've actually come with this and what we are busy developing.
Okay, so Joe, let me just say to the audience, we have rebranded, changed the name to NewEarth. X marks the spot, because that is our global campaign is going to be based on that tagline. X marks the spot for paradigmatic shift, for moving, transitioning from the old order to the new order. That is the symbol, the sigil. Get used to seeing that. So it is now newxearth.com, newxearth.com. The ghost wallets are going out here with the Visa card rails connected to them, newxearth. Okay, the QR code is up there. I still say this, get your ghost wallet now. We're moving on to products, and this again is what we've been building forward. We've had to grow 10 times bigger and get ready for what's coming. Joe, just speak to this suite of stuff that we're releasing.
Yes, so as we're learning, because this is a learning curve for all of us, so we're taking input from our members and we're actually expanding on that and trying to build something that's comfortable for everyone. So what we did now is we basically got a whole system together, a combo piece, if you want to call it that, whereby you have direct access to your wallet, you have access to backup safety keys, you have access to your virtual tags, which allows you to pay in stores instead of doing it on your phone. And we're just trying to get things and make it much more user-friendly for everyone. So thank you for all the feedback from everyone that was involved and got their wallets and actually gave feedback on that. I think that's actually what's also helping us tremendously pushing forward and making this much better than what it is. And the future is bright.
Thanks, Joe. And so just to also speak to this, that's the first generation Ghost wallet there, the biometric one. A lot of people told us we don't want biometrics. We're not interested. We don't want it. And there were also certain compatibility issues with some Mac systems. And so we brought this one online so we're now saying you can choose between, have a look in the middle there, the one on the left or the one on the right. So we have these two options. Just explain the difference between this one.
Yes, so basically what's happening, as I said, learning curves. We learned along the way that Mac TAOs doesn't actually work so good on the biometric side of things. So this is essentially a replacement for the Mac users, which we are replacing free of charge, obviously. At this stage, we're sending them out. This unit is PIN protected, but it's also got an AES 256 encrypted chip. So you can now get either the wallet itself, or you can get the combo, or you can get the tag in a wallet. So there will be options that's going to be available on the site as well, but it's part of improving. But one question I know already now is going to pop up, that do we need to buy the new wallet now? No. If you have a wallet and it works on your system, it works on all Windows, it works on most Macs, then you're fine, good to go. If it doesn't, just go to the website at the bottom, support, let us know about it, and we'll sort you out.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate that. It's very, very helpful. Kennedy, sorry for keeping you waiting, brother. You are leading the slow, steady build forward of the big banking infrastructure with your genius crew behind you. Just thank you for joining us on the Lazarus community meeting and outreach to the NewEarth community today. How's this journey panning out for you so far, brother?
It's great. I'm happy to be part of this journey. I'm very much an infrastructure guy. I try to speak because I'm forced to sometimes, but definitely working together with Johan, I can now confidently, unlike what was there at the beginning, say that we will be compliant. We will be able to sit in any room and defend it, because the mission is actually the purported mission of most governments in terms of how do we secure funding? How do we make sure we protect investments? How do we make sure that all the features that we have on the Ghost wallet or any other wallet are there to service the people and the communities we work with? And the light is at the end of the tunnel. We're very much aligned with Joe. It's not always as happy-dory as on this call, but it's necessary. Iron sharpens iron to get to where we need to be. But I can confidently now see where we're going, and that you will have a compliant product which you can take to anywhere. Nobody needs to be ashamed of, and nobody can send us any notices without and make us for us to be afraid that we will be found out on any matter. As we build out on start transacting on the NXC platform, we can now start looking at the investments and the ventures of the communities that we're participating with. Today, I received the full checklist from the central bank, so I will be submitting, the preliminary application document to the central bank. So you can comfortably use the platform we are behind it, and we believe we can defend it in any forum at all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And so that's really important because, again, the way we were doing what we were doing in that kind of almost guerrilla fashion was, although it was working and could most likely have worked, it was still inviting a horrendous amount of obstruction and even certain dangers. By now adopting a much bigger presence on the international stage, so to speak, the way that we're taking forward our full spectrum, financial resources and financial services through the NewEarth platform, and then the fiat banking that we're also constructing behind this. This is an integration. It's a beautiful process. We'll keep you, our community, informed of how we're developing this forward, because we're doing this for humanity. We're doing it to bridge East and West, North and South. We are building this platform to be that new paradigm shift in the global zero-point economy, zero-point social ecology. What is true cost economics? How do we prove true cost economics? How do we get a cup of coffee down from $9, to what it should be, which is, 9 cents? How do you do that in the real world? There's a way of doing it. Well, in the simplest archetypal sense, you go into the temple and you overturn the moneylenders, because the moneylenders' tables tiptoed into the temple. They became the new gods. Capish? This is the problem. The way that we view money, the way we view celebrity, the way we view power and dominion is pure idolatry. We become worshippers, Molochite worshippers at Baal's effigies. That ends. We go back into the temples. We overturn the moneylenders' tables. We get them the hell out of the temple. We sweep the temple floor. We cleanse that temple floor. We reconvene as the fellowship of man and woman. That's the point. And that's where the new economy begins. Joe, you're going to have to mute your microphone if you're in the studio live. So that's the point here, friends. Super important that we all understand. When you're talking about zero-point economics, we're talking about overturning the moneylenders' tables. It's not just a fancy tagline that I dreamt up. Talk about true cost economics as how we begin with our own exchange and our own coins and our own tokens that we are creating based on a real commonwealth. We begin to tokenize farms. We begin to tokenize organic produce. We tokenize hemp, industrial hemp farming and agriculture, and bringing those products to market, and thereby eradicating cheap foreign imports. 97% of all foreign imports can be ended. Cheap products from China. No disrespect to our Chinese neighbors, but who needs plastic Tupperware, for God's sake? That is polluting and defiling the planet. When we can locally farm hemp, we can locally process the hemp, and we can create beautiful bioplastics using hemp. We can build computers and microchips using hemp graphene, locally produced, locally manufactured, locally processed. We can have food, livestock, feed, the best in class in the world for our chickens and our pigs and our goats and our cows, locally farmed hemp produce processed into pellets, into livestock feed, 20 times, 50 times healthier and more nutrient dense than anything that we're feeding them now, all these chemical poisons. The same thing with the food, the products we have on our shelves in the supermarkets. 95 to 97% of every product you can see in a supermarket shelf or in a 7-Eleven store is a poison. And that's the issue. So the real commonwealth is reclamation of health, reclamation of sovereignty, reclamation of our own social economy and social ecology. That is where X marks the spot. I'll say it again. And just to be tacky, I'll do that. Boom, boom, boom. Remember that sign, friends. Okay, very good. Kennedy, thank you, brother. I know it's late in Southern Africa, or where you are right now. I think you're in Zambia right now. Is that correct?
We're on the same time zone with Johan.
Very good. Yeah, Johan's in Cape Town. I think you're in Zambia. And our best regards to Julian and Anton and the rest of the team. Kennedy, if there's anything else you'd like to add, please, you've got the mic. Otherwise, we'll bid you adieu.
No, I think we'll get on with it. and keep
Very
you
good.
informed as we make progress.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kennedy, so much. Joe, brother, is there anything else we want to touch on that I may have omitted?
I think that's about it. We covered it. I'm happy. And I think, yeah, as Kennedy said, let you move on.
Very good. Very
I
good.
hope to see everyone soon on the website.
Very good. Marsha, any last words from you on the new NewEarth platform that we're creating for the world?
Yes, and when you're turning over the money temple, the temples, the tables in the temple, you got to think about that's your own thinking. You're the temple, and your own thinking is turning this over. Where responsibly, as the sovereign, where am I giving my energy? What am I creating? What are we creating? So that's just my final.
Very beautiful. Thank you. And I just want to bring in here Leith Masters from the World Hereditary Council and the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, because Leith is also working very, very much in the arena of redemption and hereditary redemption and the financial economic redemption, again, at that high level behind the curtain, where we're talking about off-ledger funds and the true value of nations like Sierra Leone, like Eritrea, like Central African Republic, like Sudan, all of these dirt bowl, poor countries that have been utterly marginalized with a negative propaganda and public relations campaigning by the Western cabal. Those countries hold invariably the true value of this world. And Leith, you're very welcome to the Pulse Report today. Just a couple of words on this subject.
Thanks, Sacha. Thanks for the opportunity to give update. Yeah, so, obviously we're at the end of a very old and corrupted system that has allowed itself to encroach into our lives in ways that are unbelievably traumatic to most of us. Things like governments managing families and so forth. That's just totally not acceptable. So we're taking all of that back. We can see that with the International Tribunal for Natural Justice and the World Hereditary Council, this initial year of us doing testimonies, we're about to do our 10th testimony. There's such an upsurge of knowledge coming back through, people granting themselves permission now to speak. When we do our clip in a minute, you'll see Delark, and he was told from being a very young child, just be silent, don't tell anyone what you know, or you will not live very long, and wait until the time comes to be able to speak about this beautiful ancient knowledge. And that time is now, because he's happily at the table with the International Tribunal for Natural Justice as a commissioner and also giving testimony. So we're at the end of this doctrine of discovery that ran for 3 years, 530 years, and only just 3 years and 3 months ago it ended. So it's an amazing time. Christy, I don't know if you can get that astrology chart up. Can you get that up at all that I managed to put in? We could have a quick look. Thank you. So not only are we just at one Pluto return that Ethan was talking about, of which every Pluto return is 248 years, we're actually at 3 Pluto returns. You can see I've put a red mark around the 3 Pluto returns there. So if we go to the first one, that's when we went into the Unum Sanctum Trust as property of the church in 1302, just slightly after the Magna Carta. Then at the first Pluto return, we went into the Poor Laws with Henry VIII. So we were classified as the Poor Laws, having statute and legislation written for us by the state. So we were no longer in law. This is now the revival of law. At the second Pluto return, after the Unum Sanctum Trust, we had the Declaration of Independence, where the US thought it was independent, but was not really, has only recently stopped paying taxes to that British Empire. And now we're at the third return. So we're in alignment with the birthing of the age of Aquarius. And the beauty of Pluto is it is the most outer orb. And so we are responsible for driving it, so it doesn't go off the rails. And you can see how many incredible people are at the table driving this Pluto reinvention of humanity, because it's all about our freedom and we're taking back our freedom. So it's a wonderful time to be here. for everyone that's chosen to be here at this time. So yeah, thank you very much.
Indeed. Thank you, Leith. Greatly appreciate that. All right. I think we're getting a couple of things we forgot to touch on. Joe is on the webinars upcoming on the NewEarth platform. Let's just speak to that again. People around the world really wanting to understand a whole lot more about this incredible metric of autonomous sovereign banking that we are leading. So could you just speak to that? How are we moving forward on the webinars and seminars?
Yes, no, we are actually working hard in the back end, setting that up and getting dates set out there, whereby we will actually have the webinars live so that we can do Q&As, can do training, education, teach you more about what the platform is about, show you what we're doing, how to use it, and how to use it in your own benefit so that it actually is a positive side for you. So that all of that we're busy arranging, and it will be probably broadcasted soon. I think we'll have something like a notification also running on the site with these dates once it's agreed upon.
Very good. Okay, Joe, thank you, brother. I'm going to bid you adieu. Thank you, Leith, as well. Marsha, last word to you on this section before I close this piece.
Just thank you all to everybody who is producing this, who's making every day be incredible.
Indeed. Beautiful, Marsha. Thanks so much, darling. And I will I'll speak to you later today. Very good. Okay, let me just remove Marsha there. Okay, friends, very briefly, before I bring on the illustrious, the magnificent, the extraordinary Clayton Thomas and his better half, have to say, his better half, Dr. Christina Rahm, a woman I've been secretly in love with for many years. I've just not been able to bump Clayton out of the fray because apparently marriages work. Okay, I'll let that one slide. But let me just quickly, before I do that, lily pad across by saying, no, we don't want to go to Mayan retreats. I need to show the, Christy, pull up the slide on my Egyptian tour, please. If you can, thank you. Mythic Odyssey from the Nile to the Red Sea. Okay, so that piece, that's coming up later this year. The last one I did in October was a huge success. I think we had over 55 odd people came on that. Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, ancient Greece, and Turkey expedition that we did. It was quite extraordinary. This year, I'm focusing on Egypt and the Sinai and the Red Sea. So we'll be doing all of that and check it out. Is that QR code presumably is workable? Is that the only image we've got, Christy? It's a little lackluster for what it is that we're doing. Is that the only image we've got? That's one of my AI images. You can ignore that. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to mention briefly, friends, is this one here. So July 16th, that's in a couple of weeks' time. I'm heading out to do a congress in Mount Shasta, and this is the Atlantean betrayal. So this is the first time ever I get a chance to do a full day's talk, probably approaching 7 hours. It'll break for lunch. But I'm very excited about this because I get to really put the key in on the whole false light genesis point of the psycho-civilizational framework that we currently inhabit. So I intend to tear a proverbial arsehole into Newton, Descartes, Darwin, and Einstein. And that's not to say I don't think Newton was brilliant. I think he was absolutely brilliant. And Descartes to some great extent. I can't really say the same for Darwin and Einstein. But I'm speaking about the old Atlantean and fallen light of Atlantis mythic framework or conceptual framework of reality that we've inhabited certainly for the last 13,000 years. And I'm going to go through all of history. I'm compressing the whole thing into a 3-hour session in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I'll be, if I can just pull that back up again very briefly. My eyesight's fading, Christy. There we go. In the afternoon, the geometry of revelation. And this is unveiling the full alpha omega of the New Earth blueprint. And at that point, I will be able to speak to the audience about in the private stuff I'm not able to speak to in the public, including at Lazarus Symposium, but I can show the photographs, show the forensics, and get very, very juicy in terms of tearing out from the Babylonian basement all of that old grisly stuff that we can now dispense with and discard. But it's important that we see it first, right? So that will be done, and then moving into the full blueprint, speaking about what we're doing in Africa, what we're doing in Asia, what we're doing in Central America, North America, and so on and so forth. So if you can make it, friends, 16th to the 21st in Mount Shasta, join me at that Congress. Now I move on to the section I've been waiting for, and so happy to be doing so. I want to speak to two of my besties who I've not seen together for way too long. And this is where Dr. Christina Rahm, Clayton Thomas, and Sacha Stone get to say, "We told you so." Every single thing we said 5 years ago came to pass. So behold, friends, this panel I should just call prophecy.
Group hug. Group hug.
Hey.
We miss you.
I miss you, Sacha. I do.
Miss you too, my darling. So happy to see you guys.
How true was that last statement?
I can't see with mine.
You know,
right.
of like, she knew, she did it. We told you so. And now.
Well, you guys knew too.
Well,
all three of us. Yeah.
The opportunity to be incontrovertible in conversation, but also process, mechanism, outcome, done.
Yes.
And now I think now, you know, as the process that you've been on and being all over the world, and the process that she's been on being all over the world, and where we sit now, I was having a conversation about this earlier. You have people that want to continue to talk about the same subjects, and you know, we're frequency based. All of these things are going on. Yes, all those are true. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Because the only piece that you're responsible for is the soul inside your skin suit.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take care of this entire being in order to have an impact on the rest of the planet. Because if it's cellular biology, you know, at its basic level, if each of us is one of 8.5 billion pieces, but then when you include every animal on this planet and the rest of the ecosystem that we're all connected to biologically, then if you're toxic, right, you are literally by definition cancer to society.
I'd go further, Clay. I'd say you have consciously, possibly unwittingly, but ultimately decisions are made consciously. You have dislocated yourself from your God source. So when we are toxic in that sense, and we are infused with synthetic molecules, and we're actually consciously deciding to take synthetic molecules into this incredible God technology, that's the left fork in the road, baby. That's your demonic possession. That is Intercept 101.
Yeah.
So let us allow this one to kind of dive into that, because I think what you've seen, what you've been doing over the last few years, because we haven't had an opportunity to do this, but with what Christina's created and we've put in the market in the last year and a half, to go inside along with the sequencing of what was done initially and what has been proven true as far as the Trinity and how it functions.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, she's got 50 plus patents all around the outcomes and the processes that have been done. But you've talked about this a few times recently in podcasts. Can you walk through where, from a sequencing standpoint, and where we are from humanity with some truths of environment and food supply and why each thing has been done and what people can and should do?
So thank you, Sacha and Clay. I think the three of us were, I know, we were all on the same page. We understood that there was a frequency-based problem going on that impacts us because we're energy, right? And we're the sole source, the best source of energy in the world. That's why when people ask me, could they use human beings as an energy source? Yes. So we have to protect our energy. And creating a product like Clean Slate was really important because in order to remove the toxins, not just from the whole body, but the pineal gland was a first step. We took different steps in the process using frequency-based medicine and science that's patented to really clean out the toxins and the GMOs and the microplastics and everything else, whether it was clothing, skincare, or starting with the most prominent that really helps us, which are nutraceuticals, because people think pharmaceuticals are the answer, and they are definitely helpful in a crisis situation, but to really help with longevity and resilience, we've got to level up every day, and that means the mind, body, and spirit. And one of the things I love about Sacha is his focus on the spirit and the soul. You know, ego and pride come from the brain, and anyone that knows me knows I'm always trying to protect what I know and understand, because I know good and bad people and beings will want that. Our goal is to clean ourselves and be as high and as enlightened as we can be, and to level up. And so some people believe in the matrix, some don't. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We are an energy source. We're like a grid. We're like a matrix. And you either choose to clean that out, and silica, which is that comes from a zeolite that's used frequency based, like Clean Slate and Clean Spirits, are helping not just with the overall body, but of the organs. Because Sacha, if we can't communicate, if we don't know who we are, we've lost the whole battle. Yeah. And so I think one of the moves that has been made on society is through the chemtrails, through 5G, through EMFs, through all the stuff that's out there, the pollution. We can't think straight. People are depressed. They're sad, they're anxious. Instead of being in fear, we got to step up with our spirits, with our souls, clean out our bodies, and really be able to communicate. And I think that's why the Root Brands was so important. It wasn't just one product. It was a community like Sacha's that we joined hands with, understanding that our job is to be an enlightened person that's helping the world find safety in a tumultuous time that we know has not gotten easier. When I first talked to Sacha, the first call, and I don't know if you remember this, Sacha, we talked about parasites and fungus. We talked about the economy and wars and what was going to happen. And I think a lot of that came from our experience of just knowing what happens in the world. But a lot of it came from us having I don't want to say we're enlightened and other people aren't, but us having a cleaned out pineal gland where we're able to really focus and spend our lives knowing how to communicate. Everyone's worried about the neural link. And here's the thing, there are certain individuals, and all of us have the ability to be able to understand and know more than we do if we can clean our bodies out and if we're able to communicate. But that can only happen through honestly taking the things out that shouldn't be there, and then supporting our neurotransmitters and our microbiome throughout our mind, our heart, and our gut, so it works. And that's where I think the two communities have really worked hand in hand together to help humanity.
Beautiful. What pushback are you still getting, if any, from the status quo, from Big Pharma and the status quo, given this seismic shift of having Bobby Kennedy, on side and moving into the most powerful throne in the land?
So I've been invited to be on different committees with our government and with organizations, whether it has to do with the UN, with WHO, or with our current administration. I have decided to focus more on the science side of what we're doing, because for me, that's the path forward, because the positions right now in our country are fluctuating on a daily basis. Who's over, the Department of War, or who's over SEC, who's over the CDC. It's all FDA. It's just fluctuating. From a perspective of how I think we have been attacked, it has been a continuous effort through the last 6 years. However, I feel like we have stabilization because we've aligned with people in the environment and in this world that have protected us. And I think that's one of the key sources right now. I tell people, find your community, find your niche, develop that inner circle. The bad things are not going to go away. So Sacha, some of the things you were teaching me when I first met you, you didn't know this, but I thought, gosh, that just seems so odd. It's so different than what I've been exposed to. Now, fast forward 6 years, I understand more and more and more every day the reality of where we're living and what's going on and what's here, that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis that most people don't. And I think that's where my eyes have been opened, and I hope the rest of the world is having their, we're having all of our eyes open, because that's the only way, in my opinion, we're going to make a change, is if we deal with reality. And the reality is not great at all times right now, but we have to deal with it.
Can I add a couple things to that real quick?
Please.
So the big thing in America, as so the three of us have gone over intently, right? This Maha movement has been a great misdirection, at least in my opinion, because you have people that are now putting focus on the beast because a couple people were brought inside to be decision makers in a process.
Yeah.
But there's a couple truths that we have to understand that have always remained true. And as we get ready to celebrate our 250th anniversary of what was initially created, but maybe changed a little bit over time, maybe controlled a little bit differently, maybe hijacked, could have happened. But the government is not coming to save you. The government is never coming to save you. So the assumption that because someone is in a sitting office inside the government and they're going to have an influence over the machine actually is meant as a distraction to keep you from doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is looking internally and taking care of yourself, because there's no one coming to save you. You're given free will. You've been deceived. And you will continue to be deceived, because the hardest part is understand. And this is one thing that my psychologist, my resident nanotechnologist, bioscience engineer, and quantum physicist,
okay, Clay,
has provided consistent insight into, is the fact that if the body is a bioelectrical tower, which we know it is, and we know that our primary antenna biologically that connects us to our source exists within here, right? And we know how powerful the pineal gland is. And since she has been there many times, but since they gave me a tour and I got to lay on the floor of the Sistine Chapel, epic. But when we got to walk outside and walk into the courtyard, they have, and I don't know how old it is, like 2,000 years old, 1,500-year-old, massive, probably 16, 20-foot high bronze pine cone.
That's right.
Sitting in the middle of the court, the centerpiece of the entire courtyard at the Vatican is this massive pine cone, right? Because the symbolism is always there. The truth has always been there, but they kept the truth inside walls and sometimes locked in a box to where it is available, just not for everybody.
Right.
So the problem in this is we've been loaded with these receivers that will, one, block that antenna.
Yes.
And then attached to this antenna that are then the receivers for all of these other negative frequencies, and will even hold on to trauma and pain and fear not let go of them. This is the nefarious aspect of Mercury.
That's right.
So the foundational truth to this is we have to clean up the tower, because if you clean up and clean off what's there, and this is not a one product thing. There's no one silver bullet to this. You need to be a bioscience engineer to understand the hardware and the operating system of the tower.
Right.
We're not talking about biohacking. We're not talking about creating an app or a widget that we can put on the tower and go, oh, look, we did this one thing. You have to understand the entire operating system, which is what she's done. And we've proven, right? That's the important part. It is
But I think
readily available now.
I think people that are your audience have not, a lot of people have done clean slate, which was the basis of really helping get rid of the heavy metals with the vaccine and the heavy metals in your body, because we're at a tipping point. That's why you see such an increase in cancer. You see such an increase in autoimmune disorders and deaths and heart attacks. And it wasn't just people that were vaccinated, even though we see more in those people, we also see it in others. And I think starting with the Trinity, which was clean slate, restore, and zero in, it was put into effect to clean out and support the body. And then the Clean Spirits line, which is 3 products, was put in to really help with the spirit, emotional pieces of what's going on, which includes depression and anxiety and ADHD. There's so many things that have been compounded upon our bodies. It's like we're at war. And I think, Sacha, as we've grown, we even added a peptide blend that uses frequencies to help people. Like, I've really gotten into the hormone part for men and women. I'm getting ready to launch some things to help with testosterone and estrogen. And I started with peptides and with weight loss, because people were doing GLP-1s, but they were looking too skinny. So I pushed out a peptide line that you don't gain weight. You actually do lose some weight, because it produces a natural GLP-1 in the stomach, and then it gives your body the peptides it needs. Because again, from the day you're born, all these heavy metals and all this pollution is going in your body. And when that happens, the peptides, which are your building blocks to longevity, and I'm going to say that again, it's not just NAD and quercetin, and we have that in Immune Defense Shield, but your building blocks are peptides. And a lot of people are doing the shots, but the problem is it holds on to heavy metals.
Right.
I'm not against the shots, but we produced a line that you can take anywhere and everywhere that helps build back that muscle. Because again, babies start losing peptides, but because of what's been placed upon us with the pandemic and with all the issues around our world, we're losing them faster actually than other generations. So when we talk about longevity, absolutely, for billionaires and for people that have a lot of money, it's easier to obtain it. But for a normal person or upper middle class or upper class, some of the formulations I've worked on are long-standing, and they really help with the detoxification and the rebuilding. And Sacha, for me, that's important, because right now we are in the middle of a war with humanity, in my opinion. I think we've been attacked, and you've got to have peptides in your brain and your body and your heart and your stomach, throughout your face, throughout your skin, in order to really make it to the next level, because our bodies can only handle so much. Our spirits can't be here unless our bodies are here, so we have to protect it.
Very good. Beautiful. Yeah, carry on, Clay.
So peptides, by definition, are small chains of essential amino acids, right?
Yes.
So you have small chains of essential amino acids that, in the right environment, if this is working the way it's supposed to and cleaned up, because the signaling for peptides to do what they do actually gets blocked by the heavy metals that are disrupting your system, which is why they don't work, and your gut doesn't work because of glyphosate and the other metals and the other toxins. But if peptides are small combinations of amino acids and essential amino acids, then the concept should be clean the system up and feed it all of those essential amino acids and cofactors that are necessary for the body to do it. Now, if you want to use a synthetic kicker for a short period of time, because sometimes there might be a reason for it, if the body is really in bad shape, then you could use a synthetic mechanism for a very short period of time, just like you would use lighter fluid if you're starting a fire, right? The synthetics are the lighter fluid. If you don't have wood on a fire and you have a little bit initially and you throw on the lighter fluid and you light the fire and you burn down the wood, but all you keep doing is throwing on lighter fluid, you'll get a flash, but you have nothing to build on. This is the importance of understanding biology and bioengineering versus an aspect of, because I think 5 or 6 years ago we were talking that people shouldn't get needles.
Yes.
Yet now it's popular
everywhere
to use needles.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Well, but it's a different delivery. So just to answer Clay's questions for your community, the peptide injections are a different delivery mechanism. It's not mRNA, right? But still, when you're injecting, it's hard to reverse, right?
Yeah.
So I want to say this as a scientist, I'm not against the peptides. However, I want a better choice for me and for my family and for people around us, because long-term use of peptides being injected once a week or once a month won't happen forever, and you will have some side effects from that, right? If you take something that's been stabilized for 2 years, which is what we have to help build back the peptides, for some people, Sacha, it's a better choice, like for me, right? Because I don't like putting a lot of things into my body or shooting myself with, I just personally don't like that. And I also want to make sure it's personally cleaned. But again, the first step we talk about is cleaning our body so that we are connected. So our pineal gland is able to understand. We are understanding what's happening around us without our eyes being, closed, right? We want them opened. That's the first step, but then you've got to rebuild the body. And here's the problem, unfortunately. We have more viruses this year that have been released or that are here than we've ever seen in a summer. It's crazy. We have the environmental issues. It's one of the hottest summers we will see. I think you and I both understand, Sacha and Clay, what that's going to do to humanity. And then you're in the middle of wars and economic crisis, right? So we have to have strength to deal with what's going on. And we need to do it together as a community. We need to support each other. We need to understand our bodies won't do it alone. It's something that we have to help our bodies do.
Can you hit on two pieces of what you just said for me that'll be important for this audience? One, viral mutations are absolute. So you have cicada, you have the canine, you've got Hanta that people have heard of. There's Ebola that'll be more, and these are going to continue to process.
Bird flu, swine flu. They're worse this year because they've mutated, and even the COVID, no one's talking about it. But if you guys have an extreme sore throat that's like strep throat, that is the canine version of COVID. It's at this point, it's almost like we're watching a movie. Right, what we're seeing happening, and so you have to give your body the tools. It's crazy what we're seeing.
But
Let me
hit on
for a moment. I want to just speak to this because I have some commentary myself on everything you've said, and it's like this: when we continue to tap dance on the checkerboard of the kingdom of the devil and play into the dialectic that is presented to us, we are naturally falling victim to a stasis in our consciousness, and we are abnegating and surrendering our true sovereign flame, stepping back and allowing ourselves to be fed and pushed into, pressurized into the next paradigm. So the fact that there is an onset of even more nefarious so-called pathogens and viruses doesn't make, to me, it makes absolute sense because of this abnegation of our sovereignty. So the point you were trying to emphasize, the front end of this, is that, and why Clay quite deftly alluded to the great big golden acorn pine cone in the Vatican complex, which you actually see in all of this kind of heraldic buildings all around the world, of the ancient world. It speaks to the pineal. It speaks to the pineal. It's a totem representing the pineal. The vaulted walls and enclosure of the Vatican complex is all about how that calcification of the pineal takes place and closes down the conduit to God, to source. Once that happens, we are unable to imbibe the emerging geometry of light, which is naturally and organically infusing our galactic plane right now. That this transition between the Piscean age into the Aquarian age speaks to a 13,000-year semi-arc of the precession of the equinox that goes back to the fall of Atlantis 13,000 years ago. And when we descended into the galactic sleep cycle, we left behind us so many of the records embedded in the field, in the quantum. As we move through the same photon cloud right now that issues through the center of the spiral of the galaxy, we are remembering those of us who have not allowed the pineal to calcify, because those of us who take products like root brands, and I'm saying that quite cynically, we need to take certain products to decalcify the brain, the pineal, and activate that conduit to source. That then allows for us to be able to imbibe and receive the new coded geometry of light, which is physics, it's forensically evidence. That new geometry of light, this emergence, this grace of God, this breath of Allah, the compassionate, however you want to look at it, The point is that the body temple must be able to receive this geometry of light. That's the point. And as we receive that geometry of light, we naturally move into our capacitance to be able to create that flaming of the human auric, the subtle energy plane. And that plasma field is the antidote to all these godless fucking intrusions of, you know, whatever, however clever Anthony Fauci and his little Babylonians are in the basement. You've been fighting against that for a lifetime, Christina. How you look like 26 still is beyond me. That's a bit weird. But the point being, that's the big fight. And I'm saying that the same thing you're saying. We've got to cleanse that pineal. We've got to cleanse the body temple. If we get that piece right, we release the immanent technology, which self-reveals, self-fulfills, self-clarifies, and becomes the antidote to the kingdom of the devil. I'll leave it at that.
So right. So true. I mean, I feel like you're just, I know you're not preaching, Sacha, but to me, you are, because you got to wake people up. And thank you for bringing up the cone that's in the middle of the Vatican that you can find at other places throughout the world, because this has been thousands of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, right, in the making. And I say this, and this is not from whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Christian, you know, all of us share in, I hope, an understanding that we're here, all of us, for a time like this somehow. We're supposed to do something, but when we don't clean our bodies and we're not connected, we're doing nothing. This sounds horrible. I don't like to call people idiots, but we're walking around like zombies, right? If we don't have that pineal gland open, if we're not rebuilding our bodies. My focus has been on longevity, not because I want people to live forever, but because I want people that are the right people to be here to serve and lead and help humanity. And whether you believe, and I know Sacha, and I know this community, you understand there's more things going on than we can understand or accept, or most of us can accept on this earth. We have a responsibility to those, though, that don't know, to at least help them understand that they've got to they got to wake up. They've got to see what's really going on. And then we have to take positive action together to, again, do the things that Sacha's saying with the land, air, and water and environments and communities, and create these so there are safe places and safe communities for people to go that understand how we need to live and how we need to grow humanity while we're here on this earth. Because let's face it, everyone, we're here. If we want to survive right now, we've got to take care of our bodies while we're doing this mission. And I call it a mission because, again, people talk about AI, they talk about the matrix. You can't even use AI if the pineal gland doesn't work because you don't put in the right information. And the fact is, we have moved towards an AI world, whether we like it or not. We have to accept it, and we have to be smart enough to work in this world. And to do that, we have to clean out our bodies, or we're just going to have a bunch of machines making decisions that aren't accurate for this world. And that's the truth.
Yeah, very good, very good. So we've got questions coming in from the audience, obviously hundreds and hundreds of comments, and most of them are just sheer adulatory, I'd call it almost idolatry, calling Christina a genius, and so on. So I'm going to bypass.
Actually, can we make sure we correct the record on that?
And there's one there for you.
Clay, 1 second.
She's not a genius. She's actually been diagnosed as a savant.
Okay.
According to
I like how Sacha explains me better.
Okay, so let's go through some of these questions. Is the Vatican subservient to an off-world overlord? The answer is yes, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Yeah. Let's go into this one. Bobby has not been able to remove the use Roundup from our food. Actually, so deemed as necessary. Speak to this.
Can I hit on that a little bit?
Yeah, please.
So, one, the government is not here to save you. So I want to hit on just a quick pathway of how this machine functions and how it behaves so people can see the whole circle of continuity in this. Because there's been many things talked about 3 big hedge funds that own and control everything.
Yeah.
But in the last 6 years, there's been 1976, the World Health Organization published a paper that mercury is the cause of pretty much all chronic degenerative disease. The same year glyphosate was introduced, right? Monsanto is the producer of glyphosate. Glyphosate's been very well established for what it does. It's poisoned this entire country. There's less than 3% of the grassland on this continent that isn't already loaded with glyphosate.
Even if it wasn't planted there, it travels by the air.
So this is done, right? This is 50 years of exposure that we're dealing with that hasn't been cleaned up. It's not going away, and they're not going to stop it. It's part of the machine.
Yeah.
Bayer acquired Monsanto years ago with the understanding that Monsanto is on the hook for, what they've done allegedly. Interestingly enough, a couple years ago, Pfizer and Moderna introduced some vaccines into the market that had been researched going back into the 1980s that have major side effects and major issues. Based on the data that they were gathering from the time that they were put in the market of required to do post-marketing analysis, the black box warnings and such to go along, they voluntarily, because they're such a great organization, voluntarily removed those 2 original vaccines from the market so they didn't have to report the adverse evidence that they were finding from all of the data that they were gathering, that we know these things.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, earlier this year, Bayer filed suit against Monsanto and Pfizer for their actions in releasing those 2 vaccines into the market because they know the data that Pfizer and Moderna had going back to research that's been done for a long time with this delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
My psychologist and resident bioscience engineer had done some work in those areas, so she understood what they do, but she also understands how to clean them out.
Yeah.
Hence the Trinity.
Well,
but these companies are all owned by the same entity. So Bayer's going to get a settlement from Pfizer and Moderna that just circles everything, but there's never going to be any
and they're
change
owned by
in this.
and they're owned by the parent corporation, which is the Vatican complex and DC and the City of London and Basel, Switzerland. So you're right. All roads lead to Rome in that sense. We've got to be smart about this.
And these things won't change. These are known. These are absolute, but
Well,
they're
and
not for
whether-
us to change.
and
We have to
whether-
clean up ourselves.
Viruses are real or not, and I know that your audience, Sacha, does not believe, a lot of people don't believe in viruses, and I'm asked about this question all the time. Here's the thing. I worked on HIV and Hep C. I know what it looks like under a lab. Whether a scientist created it or not, whether a scientist created Lyme disease or not, they are things that are like system attacks, like a system hacker would put on a computer. They hack our systems. You can level up. I'm not scared of them. But here's the thing. You don't go and say, give me an IV of HIV and AIDS, or say, give me Ebola. No one's going to do that. Sacha, you're not going to get me to sit down in a chair and someone give me an injection, because you don't know this, Sacha. But I've been in situations before this whole Wuhan thing, when I was in the whole Procter & Gamble and situations, they wanted to give me, because it was the same argument, a shot of HIV. And I said, I'm not taking it. Because here's the thing, whether a scientist created it or a person that was trying to hurt us, it doesn't matter to me. It's just something, to me, it's this abstract figure abstract thing that's trying to attack us. Do you understand my point, Sacha?
Yes.
Like, for as a scientist, if you say the pandemic never happened, it was an event that happened. And that's how I feel about a virus or bacteria. It's something there that could hack or bother the system we have, but I have no idea whether they were here from the beginning or just scientists created them. But either way, they are something that could hurt us.
So beautifully put. And thank you for that. Couldn't agree more. Okay. How do you feel about the carnivore diet, Dr. Christina Rahm?
I actually do not eat meat anymore. So because of all of, most people that know me know I've had Lyme disease. And with that, since I've had Lyme disease, I've been bit by other ticks, and I started to develop a reaction to meat. I love the carnivore diet, but I like a lot of vegetables with it. I strictly, if you look at my diet now, I've changed a lot over the last 6 years. I eat a lot of protein. I love fish. I love chicken. I love almost every other meat that you can get, but I also love vegetables. The problem again is I'm always conscious of what's in the food. So there's a product called Zodid that's under the Clean Spirits line that I add to meat or to vegetables to help detox it while I'm cleaning it. Clay still loves meat. My favorite thing, just so you know, Sacha, I'm O negative, has always been like Wagyu steak. So it's hard for me, but I realized when I was eating meat, I was getting sick. So whether I have the virus that's caused from certain ticks or whether it's something that's happened naturally, I don't know. There is a little bit of paranoia, just so everyone knows on this call, because I have been at the World Economic Forum every year, and they've talked about basically meat carrying things, it has been hard for me to get I'm just focused on making sure my body's healthy. So I'm very careful.
I'm one who I'm an O, so and an athlete or prior athlete. So food sources and protein sources have been crucial, especially being an O. That beef was the original performance enhancing supplement going back to the first Olympiad. You had the Greek population that subsided mostly on pork, and those that could afford
this is true.
Those that could afford beef actually destroyed people in competition. So they banned beef consumption as a performance enhancement product in mass competition. The problem that we face now, and this brings in the question of why I talk about being Rotarian. There's other beings that are in this space with us, right? We're not alone. We might not see them. They might be in our form, whether they're on a different plane, a different frequency range, or they're just disguised as us. They're not like us. And when you look at intra or interstellar travel, the food sources would not be like what we deal with, what we eat. If you have to raise these cows, you raise these animals, you slaughter them. Maybe there's something to this. But even if we know these things to be true, if the air is polluted, the water is polluted, the soil is polluted, the produce is polluted, the animal supply is polluted, because the last two subside in the first three that are true. That means that there's no longer a focus on the substance that you can get from eating. You actually need to shift your entire perspective and accept truth. That if we are based on frequencies, we are programmable. We are a biological quantum computing tower. That means we don't need calorie. We need programming and frequency.
There you go.
You need the right combination of the right ingredients in their right forms, programmed properly, nanobiotechnologist and bioscience engineer, that then are sequenced. And this is the important part. Each product that we have, now some people say this is really expensive. It is, but you're going to not spend money on the majority of the food that you're buying right now and the supplements and everything else that you're using. You're probably going to end up saving money, and you'll be able to eat the food you want for fun, because you're giving the body everything that it needs. Crush, when she created Crush, this was a key piece for me, because she told me 11 years ago that we were going to come into a position where we couldn't eat the food. And she was going to create,
Sacha too. Yeah.
She was going to create mechanisms that allowed us to get what we needed without having to eat the food. We are now there, right? If we look at the alpha gal conversations and all these Lyme conversations, the part that's not talked about is this. The tick problem isn't in or on you. The tick problem's been on the cows, and the food itself is already so toxic.
Right.
And grass-fed beef is the number one leading indicator for colon cancer. Now, it would be nice to have someone that was working on the Human Genome Project and the microbiome to understand what's going on in the microbiome in the gut, and if that is true. Oh, that's her too.
Exactly.
So, the microbiome, the gut, the glyphosate in the environment, this is destroying the microbiome of the body.
Yeah.
And so the food that's all loaded with glyphosate, whether it's air, water, soil, it's in animals, it's in produce.
Yeah.
All of that, while you think is a nutrient benefit, is actually destroying us. So
it can. And I speed read, Sacha, so I can look at your comments. And I saw one of the people said they eat what they like, what their body tells them. And I'm going to say this as a scientist, as a psychologist, that's great, because your body does tell you. This goes back to what we talked about in the beginning when Sacha, Clayton, and we were all talking about the pineal gland and the microbiome. By the way, everyone, that microbiome is not just in the brain and the pineal gland. It's in the heart, it's in the gut, it's in your system, even the hormonal pathways. Because I want to touch upon this. We're in a sexual recession right now. We have less sex right now than we've ever seen. And part of that, I think, is the nutritional component of basically the component of our bodies just can't communicate. It goes back again to the pineal gland. And so you've got to clean it, but you do need to listen to your bodies, because I think our DNA and our epigenetics right now are changing, and for all of us it's different because we've been exposed to so many different things. So one of the things you guys have to pay attention to is your instinct and your discernment. If you see something and you feel like that doesn't make me feel good, that doesn't make me want to eat it, don't. And I really mean that. If you listen to your body, it will help guide you, because my blood type and my genetics are not yours. But I do believe there's things out there, Sacha, that we're eating that are killing us. So we have to be extremely careful what we eat. And I don't live in fear. I just understand that my body has to be a focus of what I do, and I have to make it a focus. If I want to look younger or look better, if I want to age well, if I want to be healthy, and I should have started with health, right? Yeah. Then we have to do these things. And if we want to think, and if we want to feel, and we want to be present, like one of the things we know as scientists is your atom is full of, and I'll do this, is predominantly air, right? It's an empty space, but in that empty space, we know communication is occurring. Right. So we really have to dig into.
Have we lost Christy there? Have we lost Clayton and?
Yeah, I see them frozen.
Okay.
See if they come back on.
Well, you know, whilst we're waiting for them to come back on, let me just add something here that I wanted to reflect on this, and I don't know if this is going to sit with my audience or not. But it seems to me that this business of viruses and pathogens and what can transmit from A to B, it's almost as though the human body temple is a quantum capacitor. We know that. We understand that the empathic wave that issues from the actualized human heart is the most powerful force in the universe and can traverse. It's the wave form that can traverse the entire known universe. We know this much. We know that through the works of Dr. Peter Garriev, to repeat myself incessantly on this subject, we know that light can carry DNA, so to speak. So the most refined linguistics, the most refined genetics can be transmitted through light. So we also know, and we're waking up to this, and I'm very much a part of this conversation with Lazarus and the work that I do, is speaking about something I've coined called stellar linguistics. The fact that as we are now activating the human body temple, and through this transmission of new emergent light, this photonic band that's impacting the galactic plane as we move into the age of Aquarius, and as this new emergent geometry of light infuses into our body temple, provided we are not contaminated with synthetic molecules, we are able to receive this emergent geometry of light. And it means we are literally having these ecstatic peak experiences are becoming available to us without taking drugs, or without having, sex, or without having anything that piques the appetites or the addictions. But we're actually allowed to participate innately, intrinsically into this new emergence of the peak experience, because we are able to read the incoming light naturally and organically. So that's the critical piece. I've been speaking about it since 2023-24, warning that 2025 was the crossing of Midsummer's Day. It's why we did the big thing in Tennessee last year. And then 2025, moving into 2026, is like that's the line. Do not cross it. We've got to be in the state of grace, this purity. We have to choose the living. We have to choose the organic. We have to choose affirmation. We have to choose the body temple. We've got to now cease and desist from allowing this third-party intervention into our bodies, because that is the last stand of the devil. It is. That's the battleground. X marks the spot, the human being. We are where the galactic battles are waging down and cascading down into this world. So this is the point. The stellar linguistics the Alpha Centaurian, Andromedan, Pleiadian, Sirian, Venusian, Orion, all of these different, now even reptilian and Zeta Reticulan, and these more grisly aspects of the meta consciousness, these extraterrestrial dimensions, these hyperdimensional planes of existence, we have all of their DNA, cosmic, galactic genetics embedded also into the human. That's the point of humanity. That's the point of Tara. That's the point of this earth plane, is that we are the ultimate receptacle of all of that information. We've been designed as God's highest creation to be able to withstand that and receive this incredible information overload, this galactic repertoire cascades down into me here now. And again, goes back to this pure truth, right action, and the geometry of the living moment. You must become the attested witness, the I am, the living witness, the living man and women of the living soil. Get off your grandiosity. Get off your fucking ego trip. Get off your performance. Tear off your godless mask. Step into the mud. Become a good human. Even become ordinary. Learn to make peace with ordinariness, so that next Tuesday may be mundane, but you're a living man, a living woman of the living soil next Tuesday and next Wednesday, next Thursday. Learn to regulate the harmonium of just breathing, just being, drinking not the tap water, drinking the non-tap water. Just simplify the repertoire of your life into being a good human. This then is the activation point of how we become a receptacle for this incredible peak experience. We become prepared for it. What do you think it means, the meek inherit the earth? This is how the meek inherit the earth. This is the orgasmic galactic bliss peak wave that is coming. Catch it. Let's be ready to catch it. So that to me is the importance of this conversation. It's the importance of clarifying the body temple. It's the importance of taking the right nutrients and the right supplements if it comes to it. The one thing I would say is don't ever allow a needle into your body. I've never had a needle into my body, except for when in the war in Africa, they vaccinated us in the 1970s as babes. But other than that, I've never allowed a needle anywhere near me, nor would I. Unless it was some kind of trauma, and I had to get anesthetic because my limbs were detached or something. Then obviously there's very exceptional reasons why one could allow for the intervention. I've always seen the needle penetrating the skin as being a crime, the highest crime of all. And the point that for me, it's a totem of where we surrender our sovereignty. I don't know what's happened to beloved Christina Rahm and Clayton Thomas, but I think we got all the information flow out of them that we could possibly have done so. I just say this in my parting gambit. We're moving into this incredible flux now. The tribulation in that sense is upon us. I've been speaking to it for a few years, as those of you who've been watching Lazarus know. But it is a process. It's a journey. It's an odyssey. And we find ourselves here. And to repeat what I said at the beginning of this broadcast, we've got gold markets, tanking, silver markets tanking, commodities tanking. We've got in the inflationary economics fiat world tanking. We've got the crypto world tanking, even to some very, very great extent. Now we can all prognosticate and judge what that might mean in 3 weeks or 3 months from now. I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about the phenomenon that the ceiling of the Babylonian false light jurisdiction temple is being auto-destructed. It's coming down. All the pillars are coming down at the same time. That is an extraordinary thing. That means that we're all, in a sense, broke. We're all, in a sense, staring into the abyss. This is perfect. It's the perfect time for us to reconvene as good humans, living men and women of the living soil. I invite you all to continue watching the rest of this symposium as members. Thank you for being such an incredible audience. We've got a very, very big live audience today. It warms the cockles of this white African heart to know that you're there. Thank you. And I want to thank my friend Sue Wong again for letting me use one of her dining rooms in this incredible Moroccan palace where I live whenever I'm here in Hollywood. Thank you for letting me use this as my broadcasting studio. I've co-opted the entire place. Christy, I think I've pretty much covered everything. want to express my gratitude to Christina, Rahm, and Clayton Thomas for coming on. Sorry to have missed you. I'll make a phone call to you later and finish our conversation there. Christy, thank you for today's Lazarus broadcast, and to the audience, toot pressed. Well, it's that time of year. Actually, it's a seasonal thing. It's normally twice a year. I have this